Boom! Welcome back, Gabe the Great, back here again with another video. Welcome back to the Second American Revolution. We are in the third quarter, down by 20, so let's get straight into the video. If you guys haven't noticed, I tagged somebody in this video, Professor Tad. He's a professor at, I don't know how to say your last name, and I didn't want to butcher it, so I just said Professor Tad. But he is a professor at Johns Hopkins. I went on a rabbit hole through his content last night. I was on it for 2-3 hours, and so it inspired me in many ways, confirmed a lot of what I had already said, thought, and felt that I expressed in my manifesto. But what I want to start doing is tagging and leaving down in my description what I'm calling resistant YouTubers or resistant tubers. Resistant tubers, that's better. Resistant tubers. These are people who make content that are trying to get Americans to resist, and they're trying to get Americans to accept what we're in. And what we are in is totalitarian control. We are in an authoritarian regime. We are in fascism, whatever word you want to use for not what you signed up for. And so there are creators out there, and there are people who are creating content that's really trying to get us together. And I think that's something that we really need to do. So the resistant tubers will be down in my description. I encourage other people to do it because we need to resist. And part of the resistance is actually taking action, actually taking steps. Today we're going to talk about something that Professor Tad talks about a lot on his channel. And I believe he even has a, not a course, but like a learning module. And I think it's for free, or I don't know. You got to go to his channel. But he's breaking down basically how we got the Constitution. And if you read my manifesto, the Overman's Manifesto, you will know that I spend a great deal of time talking about the United States Constitution and how the United States Constitution is one big gaslight, right? It's a gaslight. It's the biggest gaslight in the history of humanity. The United States Constitution was not written for 330 million people. It was not. It was not written for my black ass. It was not written for your poor white ass. It was not written for you women. It was not written for you disabled people. It wasn't written. It was written for wealthy white men. That's who it was written for. That's who it was written for. And so as we go forward, we need to understand that we can't go forward by going back. We can't go forward by going back to the Constitution. If the Constitution would stop wealthy white criminals like Donald Trump, it would have. It would have. But what you're finding out is that throughout the years, the people who have gotten power have just succumbed to white supremacy. It doesn't matter what the law says if you don't have people who were put there to stand up against white supremacy. And one of the things I talk about in my manifesto is that, listen, every single right we got, we had to claw it out of a system that it never wanted us to have it. The courts are not going to save us. Professor Tad talks about this on his channel. Like, the courts were not meant to save us. I talk about why you can't even go to the judicial branch after what they've done over the past 4 years, or 5 years. They let Donald Trump perform an insurrection. There is no way impossible me or you could perform an insurrection. There's no way impossible. We could get on YouTube and tell our large base of followers to fight like hell. There's no way possible any of us would be able to spread misinformation for the sake of, like, bro is defaming the United States government, and the United States government is just like, right? Like, so it's one of these things where it's so after that you had the fucking the documents case, where this case gets thrown out by a judge that he's probably going to appoint to the Supreme Court, right? Like, and then after that, we found him guilty. We found this guy guilty of fraud. We found him guilty of fraud. And guess what a judge said? Not going to do any time. You can't trust the judicial branch because the judicial branch is showing you their true colors. It was never about us. It was never about power. It was never about the people. It was about protecting power in the hands of wealthy white men. That is what the Constitution is about. It's what the Constitution is about. You can't say it was justice when 30 of the first 34 Supreme Court justices were slave owners. I am uninterested what a slave owner has to say about equality, about justice, about fairness. I am uninterested in what a bunch of white supremacists thinks about how we should run our country in 2025. They explicitly did not write that Constitution for me. People who came before me have clawed rights out of that document. And on a go-forward basis, we need to come up with a new document. Not only that, guys, but one of the things that I want to help people understand is that, yes, there's a lot of chaos right now. Yes, there's a lot of destruction. But in destruction is the vision of the next architecture, right? This is where we envision a government that is for the people. And I think a government that is for the people is we need to move away from constitutional law and move into covenantal law. And what covenantal law is where the government, we recognize that the only thing that the government is the group of human beings who have said we are going to uphold and enforce the law. That's all the government is. When you strip away all the BS, when you strip away all the politics of it, all the stuff that doesn't matter, when you take all that stuff away, the government is nothing more than a group of people who have agreed to uphold our laws and our values. And when they don't do that, they need to be disqualified from leadership. It's that simple. And so we need covenantal law where we put our values on paper as a collective, 330 million people. We put our values down on paper and we say, this is what we're going for. Professor Tad has great information on his channel. He talks about how with the framing of the Constitution, they weren't even trying to get a new Constitution. What they originally went to do was to just amend the Articles of Confederation. And it wasn't that the articles weren't working. It's just that a group of nationalists wanted more power. A group of white nationalists wanted more power. That's all it is. That's all it is. So we got to start. We have to reimagine government in the rubble. This is why I'm trying to get the resistant tubers together. This is why I'm trying to get the resistant tubers to let everybody know who's resisting, because we have to get past denial. We have been in denial for a decade, for over a decade. We have been in denial. Your government has been failing you for really since the start, right? Because it was never designed for us. But we have to get people out of denial. One of the things I talk about, because I should often share that I'm a former cult leader. And what I often tell people is that you don't have to be a part of the cult to be in the cult. And what a lot of people are failing to realize is whether you like it or not, you are currently part of MAGA. Because all the deepest conviction of the cult leader and of the cult is control. As long as they control the narrative, as long as they control how you live, control what you think, control what you're able to do, that's the only thing the cult wants. Why does the cult want control? Again, I talk about this in my manifesto. Cults give meaning to things, right? These people are fighting like, this is what it means to be an American. This is what it means. And the only thing that's going to stop them, you're not going to stop them with facts. You're not going to stop them with logic. You're not going to stop them with evidence. You have to stop them with conviction. And until we get deep convictions, this is why we have to get out of denial. We have to get deep convictions if we're going to really resist, right? There are some things, there are some methodologies that will be up for debate. But there's some things we're not going to be able to debate. And it's not possible after Donald Trump, after what MAGA has done to the country over the past decade, it is not going to be possible to go back to that Constitution. It's not going to be possible. Why would you want to? It didn't stop this. Why would you want to go back? And so we got to help people see that. We got to help people see, guys, we need a new Constitution. We need a new Constitution. I don't even think we need to go to constitutional law. We need to say what government is for us 330 million people. I also think that when you look at the federal government, the Articles of Confederation was definitely the best blueprint for the United States of America. Why? I'm in Oregon. I do not care what laws you guys are writing in Arkansas. And in Arkansas, they don't care what y'all got going on in California. Right? I don't want to hear about what's happening on the national level if those leaders haven't done anything at the local level. The reason why when we go forward, we need to localize is because localizing things is going to help us get to the root of the issue. This is why we need to take advantage of technology in our resistance that they didn't have during their resistance, right? During past resistance. So we're the first resistance that has algorithms. We're the first resistance, right? At least in America, we're the first national resistance that is going to be able to use all this social media and everything like this. We need to use it because they are going to retaliate, and it will come a point where we may not have it, although I don't think it's going to get to that method. It's going to get to that far because, as I said, the technology that we have, the 24-hour news cycle is our best friend. The 24-hour coverage is our best friend because it's not that it just needs to be me saying we need a new constitution. If we get other resistant YouTubers calling for a new constitution, and now it's million of us, and it's organic, and it comes from us, we can protect it. We can protect it from outside influence. We can protect it from each other, but we have to come together around a set of shared values. We come around a set of shared values, and then we ruthlessly protect it. That is how we have to imagine government. All of us, right, going forward, right, we need to see government as what allows the rest of us to be civil. I've explained this in my civil unrest logic, the logic behind civil unrest. The people are not supposed to have any responsibility for keeping civil order. The government is supposed to keep civil order. This is what liars, manipulators, narcissists know. It doesn't matter what I do to you today. The government is the only thing that can check me, because if you do something to me, you get in trouble. But when the government is not holding to the law and enforcing the law, there is no civility. And the people keeping the civility, again, I'm not saying we need to rage and just, get our guns and storm. I'm not saying that. But we do need to turn up the temperature. Because when you are dealing with someone who has no end, you have to polarize it. You just going, oh, I'm just going to stop. No, you got to polarize it. How we go forward is forward, but we have to push towards something. And what we have to push forward towards is a new governing system. A governing system, and I talked about this, that elongates the path to power. We know we need to use the knowledge we have today to write a constitution, to write a new governing document for the future. We know how power affects people. It is stupid to have a lifetime appointment of judges. It is stupid. It is stupid to allow people to just run over and over and over again as congressmen. There needs to be a cap, a full cap in the United States on government employees at 25 years, period. No human being needs to serve the government for more than 25 years. What that is going to do, that is going to create a constant need, because one of the greatest sources of wisdom, one of the greatest sources of leadership that I think we are not getting the most out of is our older citizens. I would much rather prefer to have somebody who spent their 20s, 30s, 40s, right, building a life for themselves, serving the community, and then after they were getting ready to retire, 40s, 50s, now they want to serve the government. Not I'm saying you need to put them out there as police officers and this and that. I'm saying there's a source of wisdom. It's a source of humanity that we're not getting right now. And the reason why we're not getting that is because we are allowing people who did not care about us. I say this in the manifesto. The founding fathers did not imagine us, nor did they try to. The founding fathers did not imagine that I would even be able to demand justice from the Constitution. That you think they wanted white women to get justice from the Constitution? You think they wanted poor white men to get justice from the Constitution? They did not. They did not. They did not. And if you guys need to see the evidence of that, if you need to see that from a historical perspective, I think Professor Tad is a ResisTuber that I think everybody should watch. I'm watching. He's helping me. Let me scoot up a little bit. So yeah, I think you guys should go watch it. Watch Professor Tad. I'm getting signed up for his How We Got the Constitution course. I'm excited to go through it. Even though like I feel like I would know some of it, I think part of radicalization, and I talk a lot about radicalizing, part of radicalization is going back over things you already know for the purposes of re-engaging with the material from a new perspective. Every perspective that engages with the material is going to learn something different. So how I would engage with this material before I wrote my manifesto is going to be totally different than I'm going to engage with the material after I've written my manifesto. And the same thing for other people. So the path to radicalization is a lifelong educational process. And it's even something I talk about in the manifesto, is that we got to reimagine education. Education can't just be something that the children do for 13 years. Education has got to be something that we reimagine that is from birth to death. We have to reimagine public education that way. The reason why that's so difficult right now is because when we start thinking about education, the first thing we think about money. The first thing we think about with government is money. And that's because that's why they set up the government, to consolidate their money, their power, their wealth, their resources. So when we think of government, we think of money. But in the chaos, in the rubble, we are able to imagine things from the ground up and go, wait a second. What would be the best education system? We have to get an education system where people can't be manipulated like this. And we know that even with cameras, as a matter of fact, they can be manipulated better and faster. We have to be better than the other side. Yes, they gave us the reason why, like, I never got mad at Project 2025. If we on a court and I say I'm going tween behind the back, side, step back, leaner, and then I go tween behind the back, side, step back, leaner, and I make it, fuck you mad about, bro? They told us what they were going to do. Now we, the people, need to go, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're setting out to do. Will we get resistance? Will we get retaliation? Yes, 100%. And in some ways, we can't get to the next phase until they retaliate. But before we do that, we got to get deep convictions. And one of the convictions that I think all us ResisTubers need to agree to, I don't really care how we get there. I don't care what angle, method you get there. I don't think we need to waste time getting caught up in the weeds. I think one conviction we need to get to as ResisTubers is that when we go forward, there's no way to go forward with this Constitution. This is not possible. So check out Professor Tad. Go to his channel. He's got a lot of great stuff on there. Sign up for his How We Got the Constitution. I think it's great. I think for those of you guys who just recently come into my channel over the past couple weeks, I think it's great material for all of us as we prepare for this. I was talking with my partner this morning because, you know, her therapist wanted to prescribe her, and I'll close out with this. And she has a great therapist. I'm not talking about a therapist. I just, going back to the point about us being in denial, I think we were talking through what she's going through and everything, and we were talking about it, and I think the denial is even set in our professionals. I'm like, sweetheart, like you don't You're going through all this because you are living through a moment that has never happened in American history. Never in American history have we had a president this much of a dictator. Never before in American history. Like, a lot of the things that you're feeling is partly because society is gaslighting you. Society is trying to continue like business as usual, and it's not business as usual. We can't afford what we could afford. We did lose some things. Our family has been affected. And so a lot of us, we're trying to dance it away. We're trying to, just consume content. We're trying to just medicate it away. And it's like, no, guys, it's time for us to face it. The good news is we're going to face it head on. We're going to face it all together. We're going to walk with each other through this national identity crisis. And on the other side, we're going to actualize a country that is for all people, because it has to be. I don't care what the white supremacist, there's too many non-white people to have a white supremacist country. You can't do it. There's too many white people that don't believe in white supremacy. You can't do it. It doesn't. What we've allowed these people to do and what we've allowed these people to take over, they don't understand it can't happen. And the reason why they don't understand that it can't happen is because none of us have conviction. We gotta unite around conviction. We gotta unite around a shared set of values and principles that we believe that it means to be human. What it means to be an American, what it means to be a human, these are the values that we are going to come around, and we are going to resist it together, and we're going to get a country, we're going to actualize a country that is good. I'm confident of it, because we have power that past generations didn't have, and we have never come together like it's what's going to be required of us. That's the thing. What is going to be required of America to get through Donald Trump has never happened in human history before. It's never happened in human history. So this is how I know we're going to be successful. Because what we have to do, what is required of us, is to unify and come together in a way that the United States of America has never done. It is literally going to take grassroots leadership. We cannot trust, the wealthy. We cannot trust the Democrats. We cannot trust the Republicans. What has to happen has never been happened. We have to get grassroots leadership. It has to come from the people. And we have an ability to do that at a speed that the past generations didn't. All we got to do is come around a set of shared values. We got to name those values. We got to make those values known. And once we come together with it, and that's what I try to get people. This is why I never stop talking about my daughter and what happened at the 4J school district. And I say it in the manifesto. We need to come together and build a country for the greatest number of children to succeed. That's what we need to do. This is why I like covenantal government, because it's a vow that we make to every generation of our children. Hey, this is what we are promising our children. That's what we are promising, these protections for the next generation. We need a government that looks forward, not a government that locks us in place, not a government that's looking back. And we're going to get that, because what they're doing is going to destroy themselves. And if somebody else gets to that point, it's going to destroy themselves and the country. You cannot be the leader of the United States of America by being a white supremacist, by being a Christian nationalist. It's just not possible. You can't force this nation to be Christian. You can't do it. The country will burn down. The country will burn down before this country just en masse becomes Christian. This country will burn down before it goes straight back to white supremacy. What they're trying to do can only destroy the country, which is why it's destroying the country. We're too diverse for their plan. We need to come together around a set of shared values, because we understand this Constitution wasn't written for us. So we got to do it ourselves. And that may seem scary and that may seem whatever, but it's necessary. And we're going to do it. It's going to be great. and we're gonna actualize something great. I was really encouraged by Professor Tad's content last night. I encourage you guys to watch it. And yeah, let's get this Constitution the fuck out of here. Okay, love you guys. Bye.